How to form compound sentences. You have written a draft, you want to edit it. The first thing you should look at is sentence fluency. This means you should check that your sentence is grammatically correct. You should use a variety of types of sentences and of course use them wisely and appropriately. How many types of sentences do we have? Basically just 4. 1. Simple sentences. 2. Compound sentences. 3. Complex sentences. And 4. Compound complex sentences. We have already produced 4 videos on complex sentences, and today we are going to start talking about the compound sentences. Basically, you have more than one clause, 2 or more in one sentence. Now, what is a clause? A clause is a group of words that contains at least one word, and this word should be a conjugated verb. A simple sentence, therefore, is made up of just one clause. There are 3 types of clauses: the independent clause, the main clause, and the subordinate clause. When we talked about the complex sentence, we did mention the main and the subordinate clauses and how the main is superior to the subordinate, and when you want to write, your main idea should lie in the main clause, not the subordinate clause. On the other hand, the compound sentence at the basic level, if you have only 2 clauses, is made up of 2 independent clauses. They are equal in status. No one is more important than the other one. Let's say they are like 2 friends. No friend is better than the other friend. They are just 2 friends. And they hold hands. It's not I'm holding yours or you're holding mine. No, you are both holding each other's hands. Now, a compound sentence doesn't have to be limited to just 2 clauses. It could have 2, 3, 4 or more, and the first one holds the hand of the second one, who holds the hand of the third one, who holds the hand of the fourth one, and all of them are equally important, though all independent, meaning they could all stand alone, but they choose to hold hands. How do we connect then 2 independent clauses? We said they hold hands, but how do they hold hands? There are 2 ways. Up here you can see a number 1. This is the first way. The first clause holds the hand of the second clause using fanboys, and I shall explain shortly what that means. The second way you can connect 2 independent clauses is by using a semicolon, and I can tell you, in my years and years of correcting students' essays, I almost never see them using a semicolon. They simply don't know when to use them. Well, here it is. This is when you use them. So, to summarize, how do you connect 2 independent clauses to form a compound sentence? There are 2 ways. The first way is to use a fanboys. Yes, I said a fanboys. And the second way is to use a semicolon. Alright, so for those of you who do not already know, what are fanboys? It's a short way of saying coordinating conjunctions. As you know, there are 3 types of conjunctions, and this is the first type. There are only 7 of them. That's why it's easy to put them together as such: for, and, nor, but, or, yet. So if you look at the red letters, they form the word fanboys, or the 2 words fanboys. So let's try an example. Let's say you have 2 simple sentences. I like Cinderella. I mean, not the girl Cinderella, but the story Cinderella. And then you have another sentence. I hate Jack and the Beanstalk. Now, the trick is to put them together in one sentence. They are both independent clauses, meaning that they are not actually related to each other. You can say it alone, and it doesn't affect you at all if you put it together with the other one or not. Yet you want to put them together because maybe you want something longer at this point in your essay, or maybe because they are somehow dealing with the same topic, the topic of whether you like fairy tales or not, and you want to put them together. All right? So method number one, you're going to use a fanboys or coordinating conjunction. Let's pick but, because like is the contrary of hate. So we are not going to say and, we're going to say but. So I like Cinderella, but I hate Jack and the Beanstalk. Note that you took away the period after Cinderella, and you put but without a capital, obviously, and the period is kept at the end, so now it's one whole sentence. I like Cinderella, but I hate Jack and the Beanstalk. You do not need a comma, okay? The second method, the one that nobody ever uses, is using a semicolon. So I like Cinderella, take away the period, replace it with a semicolon. Then you go on and say, I hate Jack and the Beanstalk, period. Now you have a whole sentence called a compound sentence. Bravo, you used the semicolon for the first time in your life. I hope not. Now that you have mastered how to form a compound sentence, when would you use that while editing? Most commonly, it's when you see a run-on sentence. Many students would write something like this. Jack looked outside his window, comma, he was surprised to see a huge beanstalk reaching up to the clouds. Yes, it's how we talk, right? You didn't say Jack looked outside his window. Stop. Breath. He was surprised to see it. No. Normally we say Jack looks outside his window, and because we say we think it's a comma. Okay? He was surprised to see blah 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 blah. That's not how you write. You cannot do that. You would have to put something else, like a period. But in this case, you decide, I do want it to be one whole sentence, so I'm going to turn it into a compound sentence. How do you do that? How do you do that? Method number one, with fanboys, coordinating conjunctions. Jack looked outside his window, take away the comma, continue, and he was surprised to see a huge beanstalk reaching up to the clouds. Now, because Jack and he are the same person and you just used the and, it is okay to take away the he and not repeat the subject. So it becomes Jack looked outside his window and was surprised to see a huge beanstalk reaching up to the clouds. Method number two, use a semicolon. Jack looked outside his window, take away the comma, replace it with a semicolon. Continue. He was surprised to see a huge beanstalk reaching up to the clouds. In this case, you cannot omit the he in the beginning of the second clause because of the semicolon. You cannot. So you simply have to put it in there. Okay, so we did mention before that compound sentences don't have to have just two clauses. They could have multiple clauses. Let's look at this example. The beanstalk was still growing. Simple sentence number one. It didn't seem to end. Simple sentence number two. Jack climbed for 2 hours. Simple sentence number three. He still couldn't see the top. Simple sentence number four. Now, for one reason or another, you decide you're going to put them all together in one big long sentence. One possible reason you want to do this is that you want to show how tedious, how long it took, how tiring it was, how boring it was. And when we want to do that, it's better to use a big long sentence. All right, so let's put all these four clauses together into one big long compound sentence. Now, the first thing you do is look at the content of these simple sentences. The first one and the second one are both related to the beanstalk. The third and the fourth one are both related to Jack. So it would be a good choice to decide to split it in the middle using a semicolon. Now we look at the first one and the second one. They both have to do with the same thing, growing and not ending. So it's a good idea to use and. If you look at the third and the fourth, they are sort of opposite of each other. So if they're opposite, you can say but I prefer in this case to use yet, because yet has a connotation of the time that hasn't arrived yet. So now let's read the whole thing. The beanstalk was still growing and didn't seem to end. Jack climbed for 2 hours, yet he still couldn't see the top. We can omit the it in the second clause, and if you wish to, you can also omit the he in the last clause, but I decided to keep it because it feels like you're insisting on it. You know, he climbed and climbed and he still couldn't see the top, right? So there's an insistence to it. Very simple, right? Well, if you liked this video, please click like. And if you want to see more of these grammar videos, please click subscribe and also the bell for instant notification. See you!